Are you ready to explore the unknown? Dive into the world of the strange, mysterious, and unexplained with Eerie Expeditions magazine. Each issue is packed with spine-tingling tales, cutting-edge paranormal investigations, and exclusive insights into hauntings, cryptids, UFOs, and more. Whether you're a seasoned investigator or just love a good ghost story, Eerie Expeditions magazine has something for you. Join our growing community of truth seekers and adventure lovers. Subscribe today at EerieExpeditionsMagazine.com and unlock the secrets of the supernatural. Are you ready? That's EerieExpeditionsMagazine.com, where the extraordinary is just a click away. Dare to discover.
Welcome to The Gateway, broadcasting live from the edge of the Mojave where the strange slips through the cracks. We are live on United Public Radio Network 107.7 FM. I'm your host this evening, C.L. Thomas. And just a little reminder, I am actually on the road right now, relocating my home office to Wyoming. So this is a pre-record. And if you hear a whole lot of crying in the background, I just got a puppy, and this is her first time in her little pen, and she's not real happy about it. I have a 7-week-old golden retriever. Her name is Heidi. I will introduce her to you guys probably sometime in the near future, but I have to get her settled first. She's real cute. You're going to love her. Welcome back to the Gateway Podcast. Tonight we're stepping into the shadows of Northeastern Pennsylvania, where abandoned coal mines and forgotten cemeteries, restless spirits, and things that go bump in the night are just part of everyday life. My guest is author Dean Alan Conrad, creator of Welcome to Mammoth, Tales of Horror in Northeastern Pennsylvania. It's a chilling collection of interconnected stories set in a fictional city of Mammoth. I can't wait to figure out where he came up with that idea. Within these pages, readers encounter ghosts, vampires. I know there's a vampire trilogy. There's ghouls, there's demons, haunted places, and ordinary people forced to confront extraordinary horrors. So this has a little bit of everything for paranormal. But beneath the scare and supernatural encounters lies something even more compelling about his stories. They're about life, death, loss, redemption, and the mysteries that may await us beyond this world. It's interesting because I myself, a lot of people out there who know me, I'm from Western Pennsylvania, and there are a lot of strange stories within Pennsylvania. So get ready. Tonight, Dean joins me to discuss the inspiration behind Mammoth and the folklore and history that helped shape these dark tales, the unforgettable characters who inhabit them, and why the coal region provides the perfect backdrop for horror, which it really does when you think about it. So we'll explore some of the darker themes woven throughout his collection and find out what happens when the line between the living and the dead becomes dangerously thin. So dim the lights, settle in, and join us as we journey into Mammoth. You never know what might be waiting in the darkness. Let me get Dean on here. Dean, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, are you yourself from Pennsylvania?
I am. I'm from Pottsville, Pennsylvania, and still live there today. So,
I'm from Western PA.
Okay.
The Westmoreland area.
Okay, I'm somewhat familiar with that. There's a lot of paranormal things that go on out there.
There is, yes. There's a lot of stories about it.
Yeah, I'm from Schuylkill County, which is the hard coal region, and I think a lot of the folklore can be traced back to European people who came to this country and became miners, and they brought their tales of horror and fascination with them.
A lot of people don't realize there's a lot of interesting culture that's kind of on the dark side associated with the coal mines in Pennsylvania.
There are. There was the Shepton mine disaster in 1963, in which 3 men were caught underground in a cave-in, and one of the men was never recovered, and the other 2 had all kinds of paranormal experiences underground. And my friend Maxim Furyk wrote a very good book about that, and I think I have it here. And we didn't plan this, but
little free advertising never hurts.
And it's an excellent book about this. And the miners had all kinds of unusual experiences underground because they were in total darkness, and just the kind of what interface their mind had with the paranormal is kind of amazing.
You know, one of the things about Pennsylvania, I remember when I lived there, I went to school in Amish town, pretty close to Penn State. And it's interesting because everyone kind of almost puts the Amish on a pedestal, but they have a lot of dark tales coming out of their communities as well. Have you heard anything?
I don't know anything in particular, but I think they do have a number of kind of crazy stories that are associated with them.
Yeah.
It's not all, hard work in the fields, and they have their folklore, and so it's all pretty amazing.
It is. And then the other interesting thing too about what I remember from being in Western PA is it doesn't have anything to do with the coal mines or anything like that, but there's a big German community that are known for like hexes and things like that. I don't know if you've heard any of that. I used to hear a lot of those stories when I was a kid there.
I have. There's especially associated with the Germans from Lancaster, and what we would call the Dutch from closer to this area. So they have a lot of hexes and spells and things that you wouldn't you might not associate with them, but they do. I remember there were Germans who came. This is back during the Depression. Came near our home. Well, it wasn't my home. I wasn't born then, but and my grandmother used to go to them, and she would say they would do powwow on her.
Oh, wow!
Because she was in ill health for many years, and she was always trying to do something, find some elixir that would kind of straighten her health out, and so she would go to these camp meetings. They came in wagons, and this is back again during the 1930s, during the Depression, and she would go down to these kind of revival meetings they would have. And one story my aunts used to tell was that when people would go to these events that the so-called Pennsylvania Dutch had, the people were warned, lock your houses, because while everybody was in the tents listening to what was going on, there are probably people ransacking your home looking for money or jewels or whatever.
Oh, interesting. And the other thing too, you just made me remember, you have the Appalachian there too, and there's a lot of Appalachian witchcraft too that's tied into, I want to say that's the German culture too, but I can't quite remember what that is. But anywho, we're here to talk about your work. So how did you get into writing about Western PA and some of the stories that come out of there?
Well, I have a degree in English, and I worked for a newspaper, for a daily newspaper, for 8 years as a reporter and a columnist. So I kind of came to the writing kind of naturally, but I've always been interested in creepy, spooky things, even as a kid. In fact, I was probably maybe 11, and I convinced my parents that over the summer when I was off school, I should turn our basement into a mad scientist laboratory. And they agreed with the stipulation that I clean it first. And so my friends and I built this mad scientist laboratory, and we charged friends and neighbors and relatives an entrance fee to come in and see what we did.
So your work, Mammoth, Tales of Horror in Northeastern Pennsylvania. Can you tell us what that is? Because that's what we're going to talk about tonight.
Okay, well, Mammoth, the mammoth vein of coal is a real thing. It's a 40-foot thick vein of anthracite coal, and I think it's still being mined today. It's been, it was discovered in the 1800s, and it's a colossal deposit of anthracite coal, and so that is real. And so my fictional town of Mammoth, named after the coal vein, is actually based on Pottsville, Pennsylvania, the town that I grew up in. And it's the home of Yuengling beer, because we do have a Pottstown that is closer to Philadelphia. So when I say, people ask me where I'm from, I say Pottsville. Oh, do you mean Pottstown? I say no. I say the home of Yuengling beer, and then they know, oh, okay.
Interesting. What inspired the creation of this town, and why didn't you use just Pottsville?
Well, I didn't want to drop too many names. So if you are from Pottsville or the area and you read the stories, and you're familiar with the town, you will probably say, oh, this is the Charles Baber Cemetery. This is some other coal mine, or so you'll find yourself seeing these different localities, and think about them. But actually, I had back surgery in around 2000 or 2020, and so they told me that I could not do anything. I could not lift anything more than 5 pounds for, I don't know, 6-8 weeks. And the only thing I could do is walk every day. So they said, walk for a half hour, and that's all you do. So that's what I did.
It left a lot of time for reading and writing.
I took the doctor's advice, and I had a novel idea that had 2 elements, and I just couldn't make them work. They just didn't fit properly. So I thought, well, they might make 2 short stories, and they did. So my short story, Living with the Dead, is one half, and I have another novella, The Demon Hunter, which kind of contains the other half of that. And so once I started to, because I had these long, boring days, and I didn't really want to sit around and watch TV all day after I got done my walking. So and these ideas just came to me one after another, and so there's 11 short stories in this book, and they just came to me rather quickly. And so then I kind of sat on the story. I did the vampire trilogy, which is 3 novels, and then I thought, well, I'm going to turn back to these short stories and polish them up a little bit and see how they turn out. So I was really pleased with them, because I think the short stories allowed me to experiment with style a little bit more than a novel. So the trilogy is over 300,000 words. So if you if you write all 3 books and you decide at the end, though, this didn't work, you put a lot of work and effort into something that you're not pleased with. So with the short stories, I could alter the style. Some are first person, some are third person. So the actual writing is somewhat different among the stories. So that worked out very well for me, I thought.
Are there any real haunted locations or legends from Pennsylvania's coast? I think you've already answered this, but what are the haunted locations and legends from Pennsylvania's core region that was woven into these short stories?
Well, there are some supposed cults. There was on Hawk Mountain, there was a tavern and kind of hotel that was supposedly had a serial killer there back in the 1800s, and he would waylay travelers who were going from Schuylkill County over the mountain into Berks County. And so a lot of these people were peddlers, and they had all kinds of goods, and of course they had money with them to make change and to sell items. So this man killed these people and buried them out in the woods, supposedly. Took what he wanted, their clothing, or in some cases he would take what he stole, whether it was items that they had for sale, their clothing, whatever these people had, and he would sell them at fairs, so to make even more money. So.
Oh, wow. Like those I remember local fairs coming into the town I lived in around Pittsburgh. Is that the story? You mentioned a cult. Is that same story?
No, that was a different episode, and someone did write a book on that. And
what was the cult?
I have everything within Appalachian Schambach's Tavern, and I've never met the writer, but I did buy the book because it has such a strong local interest. And so I don't know how much research he did on that book, but evidently there's some truth to it. The actual building, the tavern, is still there, and it's a private home now. So it's no longer a tavern or a hotel.
Got it. It's just private property now.
Right.
Okay. Is that I kind of got lost. So the cult that you mentioned earlier, is that same story?
Oh, yes.
Okay, gotcha. Are there any other haunted locations that you used?
There's an interesting story. I used to drive by at night this Charles Baber Cemetery in Pottsville. And as I looked to the left into the cemetery, I saw these flashes of light, and it almost looked like they were racing from inside the cemetery with my car down the street. And I thought, wow, that is really weird. And so then I started to look for it, and every time it was dark and I drove by there, I would have this phenomena. And I finally realized that these flashes of light were reflections from my headlights off some of the real polished granite stones. So it wasn't really any paranormal. It was more my imagination.
Oh, got it. The story Living with the Dead explores death and the afterlife and communications with spirits. Have you ever had a paranormal experience of your own that influenced the story of your writing in general?
I have not. Not really. I did have an incident when I was a kid. My friends and I were walking along a railroad track, and there was a cutout in the side of so there was a a rock face, and we decided for some stupid reason that we would climb that, and I got stuck. The other boys made it to the top, and I got stuck because I took a different route than they took. So so I decided, well, I would try to backtrack and then take the route that they did. So I put my hand up and grabbed what I thought was a stone. Well, it was a stone, but I thought it was secure. When I pulled on it to lift myself, it came off in my hand, and I started to fall backwards. And I was probably 35, 40 feet above the railroad tracks, and something pushed me right up against the face of the rock.
Oh, wow. So you had like a guardian angel or something.
Yeah. And I was just pressed into the rock face. And when I got my wits about me again, I was able to backtrack and then climb up and over the edge of the rock face. So,
I have a similar story. When I was a kid, I was somewhere. It was where there was a lake, and there was like a little like sidewalk or path that me and my cousin was playing on. And there was a railing there so that people can, so people can hold on to when they're looking over at the lake or whatever, that body of water. I can't remember what that body, I was pretty young. But I was playing around with my cousin and slipped and went right underneath that guardrail and started sliding down the ledge there. And right before I had fallen off the little cliff into the water, it felt like something had stopped me, like kind of pushed me into the rock almost. And then I was able to regain my footing on the loose rocks and was able to climb back out. Of course, I got in trouble though.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. But similar, do you think these were guardian angels?
It could very well be. I wouldn't dismiss it. I would rather believe it was a guardian angel than because there certainly wasn't a sudden gust of wind that blew me into the rock. If it was something that pushed me. So.
Right. Many people have experienced near-death experiences, report seeing things that they can't explain. Did you research real NDE accounts while writing Martin's story? And first, tell us a little bit about Martin's story too. And did any of those accounts change your own beliefs about what happened after we die?
No, that was pretty much just my imagination.
Oh, got it.
He dies 3 times, and then he is the first time he died. He caused, and he was always resuscitated. And so he started to see this little girl, who was killed in the first accident. It was a motorcycle car accident, and she was killed in that accident. So after the 3rd time he died, he started to see her, and she started to visit him. And so he, the 3rd time he was actually murdered. But again, he was close to the hospital, and he actually a Bible in his coat pocket stopped one of the lethal, or what would have been a lethal bullet. And so he starts to see this little girl, and they have a lot of kind of, there's a lot of humor in all these stories. They're not just horror, because I thought it would be just too much horror. So I put some humor in there, and he asked this little ghost, if you really wanted to help me, I'd give you some money. You'd go to the liquor store and get me, when it was closed, and bring me back a bottle of bourbon. And so she says, well, first of all, I'm not old enough to buy liquor, and I can't move things through walls. She said, I can go through, but I can't move, or take money. And she said, what you should do is get the boy who brings you your groceries and give him the money for 2 bottles and let him keep one. And and she said, then you'll both be happy. So that's kind of the banter they have back and forth throughout that story.
So I have another one about Madeline. Is as being a unique character because she's both a ghost and a guide. That's Madeline that you were just talking about, right?
Yes, yes.
Do you believe that spirits can remain connected to the living?
I believe so. The older I get, the more I tend to believe that there's something more. There's more evidence that I have, just personal evidence that that there's something more. When my father died, I was very close to my father, and he had a building, an apartment building, and he had this kind of maniacal way of taking care of the furnace in this was, and it was a coal furnace. And so I would dream I was in the basement and he was coming down the steps, and for some reason that scared me, even though I knew it was my father, and I would run out the front door to the sidewalk. And so that I had that dream several times, and then I had the dream again, and my father and I were sitting on the front steps of my boyhood home, and he had his arm around me. And so that I wasn't afraid then. I was comforted. So
Pennsylvania has a rich history of ghost stories, abandoned mines, and forgotten towns, such as, is it Centerville? The one
Centralia?
that's on Centralia, that's right. Why do you think these places with tragic histories like this seem to attract so much paranormal activity in folklore?
Well, I think sometimes, the accidents of people being crushed in the mines and being overcome by poisonous gases in the mines, I think that their energy might just stay. Even there's some residual energy left over in these places, and that's part of the lore. Becomes part of the lore. I have an interesting story about Centralia.
First, tell the audience what Centralia is. A lot of people probably don't even know what that place exists.
Oh, okay. Well, it was a small mining town, and the town had a dump, and it was just a big hole left over from a strip mine, and they would dump their garbage in there all winter, and then in the spring, and it was kind of a famous. It was a place for kids to go and shoot 22s and kill rats and that kind of thing. So, but in the spring, they would set all this rubbish on fire, to reduce the amount in the hole. And one year, they caught there was an outcrop of coal, and it caught on fire, and it started to burn underground. And despite numerous attempts by state and federal agencies, the fire is still burning today.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing it did affect, as the coal burned, it left voids, and sinkholes appeared throughout town. Even in the cemetery, there were 2 cemeteries in town, and sinkholes appeared there. So they said, oh, the bodies are being cremated underground because of this these fires. But my aunt's husband had a grandson, through marriage, and he was on Easter Day, he was playing in the yard, and he fell into one of these holes. The earth just opened up, and he fell, and he managed to catch a tree root with one hand, and was hanging there in this hole, this pit. And luckily his older cousin was right there and managed to reach down and pull him out. So that was, where this kid's life was saved by his cousin.
So Troy is interesting because there are a lot of weird reports that came out. I remember when I was in college hearing about paranormal activity coming from that area, and now I think the entire town is pretty much vacated, right?
There are 4 or 5 people who still live there, and some of the old time folks, they thought they were born in Centralia. They wanted to live their lives there, and they wanted to die there. So they made an agreement with the state that they could live there in their homes, and when they die, that land goes back to the state. It's forfeited. So. And part of the problem with that is that these noxious fumes and like sulfur and were coming up into the people's basements, and it was very toxic. And the state had to remove, had to place oxygen sensors in the homes, and it was quite an undertaking for just a few people. And
Right.
of course, the people themselves thought that the state was looking at a gold mine worth of anthracite underneath the town, and they looked forward to the day when they could get rid of everybody, so they could, cash in and mine all this coal. But again, by
Interesting.
that time, the coal industry, was on the downturn.
Right. And that's been going on forever. Same with steel. The
Yes.
steel companies. So there's an old story. I've lived in Las Vegas for the last 6 years, and even though I'm in process of moving, there's a lot of gold mines and things around here, and there's always these stories about Tommy knockers. I don't know do the coal miners have stories of Tommy knockers or anything like that? I can't remember.
I don't know of any in eastern Pennsylvania, but it's certainly possible. It's possible. There are ghosts about or stories about ghosts and about haunted cemeteries and that type of thing.
So in your book, there's a character called Fang. And I kind of skimmed through your book, the PDF that you sent me, and that seems to be one of the most memorable creature in that piece of work. What inspired you to explore the lesser known supernatural entities instead of relying solely on traditional ghosts and vampires?
Well, Fang is a ghoul, and no one knows he is. There were 2 kind of mafia men who
Which
were
is
given.
very appropriate.
Pardon? Yeah. So as young men, they were given. Someone approached them from the family, and they said, "You guys are going to take care of this creature we have." So when they killed someone, ghouls eat bodies, so they would take Fang. He had a little box he was in, and they would take him to the site of the murder, and Fang would just take his time and just eat the body, and there'd be nothing left. These 2 gangsters claim that they even a forensic team from the FBI wouldn't be able to detect any blood, that he does such a good job cleaning up. And so they actually have this clandestine meeting with some drug kingpins, and they claim that they want to retire, and they're offering Fang to these kingpins, and what a good job he does, and he's very low maintenance. He only eats when there's a body around, and he can go long periods without eating. And the real motive is that the mafia people, they want to kill these drug kingpins and take over their territory. So, but they have this meeting in a cemetery. It's very cold, and they introduce the drug people to this creature, and they bring his box in, and he gets out, and in the end there's a big shootout, and Fang has quite a dinner to consume.
Where did you get that idea for that story?
I don't know. It's just something that came to me.
So there's no real folklore or anything like that behind that one.
No. If there is some, it's merely is coincidental. Um, I don't have anything specific, any model that I used or any story that I used as a model.
Are there any cryptoids in Pennsylvania that kind of influenced your work?
Cryptids?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there have been, quite a few Bigfoot sightings over the years, and we have some Bigfoots. Bigfoot. What's the word I'm looking for? Where just like block parties where they have and then they have people come in, the Bigfoot experts from other regions, and
yeah, I think I even know which one you're talking about too. It's a Paracon kind of thing.
Yes, right.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have some well-known speakers come in, and they're quite well attended. I've been to one, and I plan to go to another, because my goal is really to have to do something on Sasquatch, some kind of paranormal story, when I get the ideas all gelled. In fact, one of the characters in the vampire trilogy is a retired. He was made a career out of the Navy, and became a Bigfoot researcher. So they use, and so there are a couple chapters that follow him on a Bigfoot expedition. But I really want to go into more detail and do at least a short story on Sasquatch at some point.
Mm-hmm. In between Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, there's a lot of woods. You have the Appalachian Mountains and just a lot of just wild area, I guess. Are there any other cryptids around that area that aren't necessarily related to Sasquatch?
There are some, and they have local names, and I couldn't really give them all these local names to you, but they are not necessarily bad, but they're more mischievous, where they will, hide something on you, and some of them are small in size. So, there are some stories about things like that.
Got it.
And fairies, there supposedly fairies live in certain forests, and you might, if you're out walking or hunting, you might just happen on one of them as they fly around.
In Lilydale, do you know Lilydale, New York?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
It's an area in Western PA. Well, it's kind of like right on the line of Pennsylvania and New York, and it's the spiritualist society or spiritualist center of the world, basically. And they have an entire forest that is dedicated to just the fairies. It's a really magical place.
Okay. Wow, that's something to put on my bucket list.
Throughout your collection, there seems to be like a recurring theme about how monsters wear human faces while others come from beyond our world. Do you think true evil is supernatural, human, or perhaps a combination of both?
I think it can be a combination of both. I think some people might be inherently evil, either because of something that happened to them growing up, or just the way that they were raised, and some just there's a possibility of someone being possessed. I attended a couple months ago there was a demonologist from the Allentown diocese, and he gave us a speech on basically what to avoid you know, to prevent yourself from being jumped by some demon-like entity. And I was surprised at some of the seeming innocuous things that he said, can open a pathway to a demon to enter your life.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very interesting talk that this and the man was a Monsignor and worked as a demonologist for the Allentown Diocese of the Catholic Church in Pennsylvania.
Do they have any stories of actual exorcism coming out of Allentown?
I don't know. I'm not sure, to be honest. So, and I don't know if they would make them public. I was surprised that for an exorcism, it's not just like in the movie The Exorcist where you have a couple people there. They want the church wants some people there who are with some credentials for mental health and programs. So if my wife takes me to a priest and says, hey, something wrong with Dean, I think he's possessed. I don't want to give her any ideas, but excuse me. They eliminate all the possibilities of a mental illness before they will go the route of an exorcism. It's a very complex procedure that they go through, and so they have so any typical exorcism, they will have two priests, they will have some mental health experts, and they will have people from the family and any number of other witnesses, so that someone can't say, oh, this was done to me or that was done to me, or right. I was coerced into saying something that I really didn't mean. So it's a very complex, and it takes a while. You don't walk in and
there's a lot of research that goes on into it.
Yes.
Yeah, I and I can really respect that, because I've been around the paranormal community now for almost 10 years, and the demonologists, they just come out of the woodwork, it seems like. Like I know a guy who's been on TV and everything. He calls himself a demonologist, and he says he's part of like the old Catholic Church. And, you start doing research into this guy, and there's, I use this guy as an example, but there's probably like 100 out there just like this guy. What they do is they go out, you can get a mail ordered and become an ordained priest, or you can get, I forget what an ordained minister, right? Like right now, I can go out, I kid you not, I can go online and submit an application, send in a little $29 fee, and they will send me back a certificate that says I'm an ordained minister.
Wow.
So you would have to start calling me like Bishop Thomas or something like that. Who knows? But seriously, though, anybody can go out and get an ordained, and that's what these people are doing. They just go out and get these mail-ordered ministry things, and then they're out there advertising themselves of like demonologist and this and that, and they have no training. And so when somebody actually needs help, they have no clue how to do the research behind it. They don't have mental health staff. They don't have anything that can actually truly help people because they're not trained. So what this guy from Allentown sounds like he's doing, I just really applaud what they're doing, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and he was in his high 80s, so he wasn't someone who just came into it as like, hey, Father, we have an opening for a demonologist. Are you interested? And yeah, sure, why not?
On the flip side, too, I know there's another lady that's probably prevalent in the paranormal world too. she calls herself the angel. I forget what she says, but again, she's one of those mail-ordered, um, ordained ministers, right? And she's got no training or anything like that. And people will reach out to her. She just tells them her angels tells her what to do and things like that. And angels don't tell people to do anything. It's just crazy. I don't know.
Exactly. Because I mean, suppose someone gave you advice and you did something and it did more harm to you or
Right.
your family,
Right.
or that's
Yeah.
always a possibility.
Yeah.
At least if you have that background in the vocation that you go through, and it's you have someone. There's always some kind of network that you'll have someone to go to to offer another opinion.
Right. But anyways, I kind of went off topic there for a minute. But back to what true evil is and things. Are there any true crime that happened in Pennsylvania that you wrote about in your work?
Other than crime that I covered as a newspaper reporter years ago, but that was more kind of burglary and wasn't any murders.
So nothing like Marilyn Manson or anything like that.
No.
Pennsylvania, are there any known cults from that area?
None that I'm aware of that are practicing that. You might want to put a hex on your cousin or somebody at work who you might think, well, if he's out of the way, I'm in for a promotion. If I could just maybe have him get in a car wreck or some such thing.
There's people that actually do that,
Yeah, there are some some sick tickets out there who will do things like that.
If Mammoth actually existed and you could take listeners on a paranormal investigation there, where would our first stop be and what might we encounter?
Well, there's a paranormal shop in two of the stories, and it has the same cat. I liked the character so much that I had her appear in two stories, and one was the Stickies, where there were ghosts associated who died in a fire at this house, and a couple buys the house with the intent, they sank all their money into it to make a bed and breakfast, and these entities at 3 o'clock in the morning they scream and they fly through the house, and so the couple goes to this paranormal shop, and where there's supposedly a witch, and she gives them some spells and some incense to burn and things to place around the house that will keep these entities at bay. And then she appeared in another story where there was a couple looking for convincing costumes for a Halloween party their work was going to have. And so they went to her, and the young man bought a suit that was owned by a serial killer. And so when he wears that suit, he becomes the essence of the serial killer is still there, because the suit had a morbid kind of history of its own, where it was, the killer was buried in it, and then they exhumed the body, and the coffin leaked, and it was all wet, and it was pretty gross, the conditions of this suit. But anyway, he wears this suit, and he takes on the demeanor of the serial killer, and he starts killing people at this Halloween party.
That sounds like that would be a great movie, actually.
Yeah, I can see, and again, there are some characters who one of the characters comes on stilts and is kind of clumping around for the whole story, and then someone else is on roller skates and he's roller skating around this big house that they made for this big Halloween party venue.
Well, Dean, where can people purchase your book?
Well, it's available on Amazon, and then there are some other bookstores that are carrying it, and some are local here. The Schuylkill County Historical Society is one place. The Cryptid Collective at the mall in Sealands Grove has my books, and they have a great store with all kinds of paranormal things, from T-shirts and sweatshirts to crystals, and they even have a Sasquatch sauce that I'm very fond of.
Oh, gotcha. A sauce, like a barbecue sauce?
Yeah, like a barbecue sauce.
So are they barbecuing Sasquatches?
Oh no, it's just a barbecue sauce with the picture of a Sasquatch on it, on the label.
Wow. Barbecued Bigfoot.
Yeah.
So what is your website again? Is it deanalanconrad.com?
Yes, deanalanconrad.com. And
right.
You can contact me through there, or you can send me an email, or you can, I've done some blogs, and so you can find out a little bit more about me. And the website is relatively new, so there's not a whole lot of information, but all my books are there, and you can read some descriptions of what goes on in those books. Not only the short stories, but the trilogy of vampire novels.
Well, Dean, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you. It was a pleasure, and I appreciate you having me.
Thank you. So you've been listening to the Gateway Podcast, broadcast live from 107.7 FM, New Orleans. You guys, I am going to revamp my website pretty soon. I keep telling all the listeners to go to my Facebook page, but instead of going to my Facebook page or even my YouTube page, I'm going to make it easier. So just visit me at clthomas.org. It's clthomas.org. You'll be able to find all the latest. The website will be the gateway pretty much to everything I'm doing, including shows, live appearances, and radio shows. Just about everything is going to go on that website. So thank you all for listening. I want to thank Public Radio Network 107.7 FM New Orleans, and I want to thank my guest, Dean Allen, for being on the show. And until next time, I'll see you on down the road.